Today, I'm going to give you a little backstory on how life was before I got to New York and why I wanted to move to New York and everything I had to do to get here. I am celebrating 7 years of living in New York City. So let's start with year one. Before I moved to New York, I had never been here before. This is my first time on the train. I am so excited to be here because I've always wanted to live here. I went to my first concert and the weekend showed up. This place is just magical and mystical. I love being in the train station. Everything about this place is what I dreamed of. And I can't even believe I'm here every day. I'm literally pinching myself. I have my first performance and I'm literally on cloud 9. My coworkers are turning into my family members, and it's like my life didn't begin until I got here. That's not really true. So let me give you some backstory and show you where it really began. So it all starts with these two lovebirds, my mom and dad. They get divorced. My mom, she goes into basic training because she's got to take care of these kids. She does what she has to do, and we have to move in with my grandmother, which is fine because I have no memory of my mom and dad ever being together. My memory starts with my grandmother, my cousins, and my aunts. That's where my memory starts. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm living my best life. My grandma's spoiling me. Everything's great. So my mom finishes her mission with Desert Storm, and now she wants to come get us. So we leave Cleveland and we move to Leesville, Louisiana. And I'm kind of excited at first, but I'm not realizing I'm not going to be able to be with my grandmother anymore, my cousins, my aunts. And it's a big culture shock because I'm moving to a very, very small city in the South. There's racism there, and I just don't really know what's going on. I'm only 7 years old, and I think I actually kind of go into a depression, and I vow that I'm going to leave this city. At some point, I'm going to leave here. So now I'm a teenager, and I'm really working on this plan to leave. And I go to modeling school, and in modeling school, I found out that New York is the mecca of all the arts, and I love being creative, even though I don't necessarily have an outlet. And all I had really was my friends, and cheerleading was the closest thing to some kind of artsy thing I could do. And although it wasn't that bad, I still knew that I wanted more. And that's when I vowed to myself that eventually I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to be this big time model because, the top model was a thing at that time, and I'm going to leave. So after high school, I meet this guy, and he's different from all the other guys I've dated. I'm a virgin, and he's not pressuring me to have sex like every other dude that I have been with. And he's all about me, and he actually helps me get into college, and is very supportive of the things that I'm trying to do. And I feel like he's helping me be a better person. And it's great because I ended up going to Southern University, which is a historically Black college. And I needed that after growing up in Leesville and feeling so deprived of Black culture. It was everything I ever wanted. So I arrive on this very Black campus. And by Black, I mean Black.
Yeah, we rockin' and we rollin' and we rollin' and we rockin' and we rockin', yeah, we rollin'.
The culture is so rich. Black.
Again, fans, you are asked, please do not play when the ball is marked for play. Southern.
So now I'm a college student, and I decided that my major is going to be acting, and I'm doing all these plays and just trying things, and we're doing whatever they have available. That's what I'm doing. I'm just living my best college life, and I'm also learning a lot about life while I'm at college, how to maneuver, how to work through things. We end up writing our own play about Katrina and from people's experiences, and it was just beautiful. But now the theater program is about to lose accreditation, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do. What am I going to change my major to? I mean, I kind of already been hanging out with the mass communication majors anyway. And I'm like, maybe that's what I should do? I mean, I loved mass comm. I was a part of this organization. It's called the Bluff Web Radio, and we would have our own like radio shows and things like that. We would interview celebrities when they would come on campus. And I was like, well, you know, maybe this is what I should be doing. Like, maybe I should be a mass comm major. Maybe that's where everything's redirected me to. And so I decide that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to change my major to mass communications. I run into Miss Green. Now, mind you, while I'm a theater major, I'm taking voice lessons with her because I'm like, oh, I'll do Broadway and I just need to get my voice together. But secretly, this whole entire time, I really wanted to do music. So she said, well, why don't you change your major to music? And I'm like, I can't even really sing that good at this point. I'm like, but I do it. And everything changes because I finally make this decision to do this thing that I've always been scared to do, that I've never really told anybody that I wanted to do, that I would just kind of dabble in. And it's great. Initially, like first semester, like changing my major is like cool. I'm working really, really hard. I'm learning like what discipline requires of me in order to do these things. And I think honestly, it's the best decision I ever made. I mean, I used to spend hours in this practice room trying to learn piano, trying to practice my voice, and it was just the best thing that I ever could have done. And also the scariest thing that I ever did. I'm still with my boy, but things are rocky, and I mean very rocky. But we're always like off and on, and we finally get back on, and I get pregnant. And me and him are both like, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, I want to keep this baby. And I do. And I feel like I'm experiencing so much joy once I got past the fear of like, I'm gonna become a mom. And then I had a miscarriage. And I think it tore us apart. I leave. And I moved to Texas. So I'm moving with my sister-in-law and my brother. And they're helping me with everything. Like, I'm living with them. We're like going out and doing music stuff together. My brother's teaching me about music, but I'm also like processing a lot of my emotions and my feelings. So I'm processing pain, if you will, of the breakup. So eventually I get my own apartment, my very first apartment, and I also get my first car that I named Grace. And I go out in town, and one day I meet Reggie. And I just randomly started talking to Reggie. I was very drunk that night, and I just randomly started talking to him about music and all this stuff I want to do, and come to find out he's a musician too. So he tells me about this place called the Dozen Street, and he's like, you need to come to the Dozen Street, just come. I'm like, what is it? And he's like, it's not really an open mic, it's not really this, it's not really that, because I'm like looking for open mics. He's like, just come. So I'm nervous as hell that day. It's like raining outside, and I walk into this place, and it feels like I walked into like the Brown Sugar video. It was like very, very soulful, which was shocking because Austin, from what I had seen at that point, had no soul. So while I'm at Dozen Street, I meet Azura, who's now like my sister. Reggie's like my brother too. And Azura, she introduces me to a totally different concept, which is she's introducing me to how to be an independent artist. So she's like, girl, we got to get you some new pictures. And this is how you post when you have a show. You got to post like this and do like that. And she's like telling me all this stuff. And so now I'm learning like, oh, what is required of me to like be an independent artist? Like, this is the back end side of it that I didn't know before. So she's putting me on all this stuff. Put me on my first, like, I think she put me on my first show, like as an independent artist, or one of them. And sure enough, like, remember her because she's going to pop back up in a later episode. But I start to realize Austin doesn't have the infrastructure I need to build a fan base, an R&B fan base. So now I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And then me and my ex reunite. And I'm finding out, like, he's in the same place as me. He doesn't know what he wants to do next. He wants to go to grad school, but he's trying to get in. So I'm like, hey, move in with me. And we can figure this thing out together. And you can stay with me for all the times I stayed with you and you took care of me. Just don't worry about anything. Just come here and you can just study. But I'm scared because I'm like, I know I need to make some changes. And every time I think about renewing my lease, something in the pit of my stomach I feel sick. So I'm like asking God for signs. And he literally gives me a double rainbow. And I know, okay, I need to just go ahead and move to Houston because Houston's going to have the infrastructure I need for the kind of music I want to make, where I can really begin to build a fan base. And it's a bigger city. It's more culture there. And that's where I need to go. So we both decide we're going to go to Houston. And we break up days before the move. So I call my cousin. I'm like, girl, I need to move in with you. And without hesitation, she welcomes me with open arms and pack my U-Haul up. And I moved to Houston. And I hit Houston with full force. I have literally given up my job with benefits. I literally don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I literally just broke up with my boyfriend. And I don't know what's happening. All I know is I didn't make all these sacrifices for nothing, and I got to figure something out. So I'm doing everything. I'm doing competitions. I'm meeting people. I mean, I am just moving with the quickness because I'm like, I got to make something shake. I cannot not make it shake. Something is going on with my grandma Grammy, and I drop everything and hop on a plane to Cleveland. I am feeling a lot of emotions at this point. Things in my life are haywire. Like, I don't have a job. Like, I'm kind of like doing Lyft and Uber and things like that. And my grandma, something's happening. I don't really have any clarity on it. And I feel so perplexed. Literally, I was just with her at my cousin's wedding and at her birthday. And everything was fine. I was literally staying at her house. That's how I got this prayer, because we would just sit and talk and everything was fine. So I was confused. I honestly think the whole family was a little confused and scared. And, we did not handle things the best way at this time. And it's because we were scared. We find out Grammy has cancer. So I am in the hospital with my grandma for 2 weeks straight. I do not leave her side. I only leave to take a shower and come back. And during this time, I feel like I experienced this rebirth. And that's when I decided to change my name to IMANI. IMANI means faith. And I needed a great deal of faith during that time period. While we wait to see what's happening with Grammy, I'm still processing this breakup through music. It's really the only way I know how. So I reach out to my cousin and see if he can help me. My cousin plays keys, so his version sounded way better than mine. It was a bad moment. I thought it was a second chance. Long story short, I have to go back to Houston. I'm behind on my bills, and I'm confused on what to do. I don't know if I should move back to Cleveland or if I should stay in Houston. And without me asking, my family did come together and give me money so that I can put it towards my bills. And I didn't have the heart to tell them how far behind I really was. And that just wasn't their responsibility. And I didn't even feel comfortable taking what they gave me already. And I had to go home. And I went home and I got a job because I needed to figure this out on my own. Me and my ex started talking again after I told him what was happening with Grammy. After all, he is my best friend. And he knows Grammy too, because he's been in my life at this point. I don't even remember how many years. And he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. I mean, he wants to go to grad school and do finance, but also he really just wants to be in the finance industry. So we started having this conversation, and he said something like about New York. And I'm like, you want to move to New York? And he was like, well, that's not what I was saying, but yeah, that could be cool. And we see this sign that day, and I'm like, oh, I'm all about a good sign. I'm like, yes, this is it. And not too long after, Hurricane Harvey happens. And I'm like, this is our sign that we need to get out of here. And he agrees. He's like, let's move to New York. And it is the happiest moment of my life because I'm like, yes, finally, I get to move this place. I had not planned this at all. I had no idea this would happen. I would think that I was going to have to get on as a musician first and then move. And while my boyfriend is in New York looking for apartments, I get a call. And my grandma Mildred dies. This was also very jarring because I just wasn't thinking about her being sick in any way. We had all been stressed out about Grammy, and so I thought that if I lost somebody, it would be Grammy. I did not think it would be my grandma Mildred, and it was a lot. So when Grandma Mildred died, it shook me up in a way that it more so woke me up, and it made me realize, you know what? It's time to get serious, and it's time to get focused. And I realized, you know what, me moving to New York is not a game. And I had a really long talk with myself in the mirror, and I've never talked to myself or had this experience before then, felt kind of outer body. And I told myself, it's time to lock in. A month later, me and my boyfriend moved to New York. And despite everything that's going on and some of the sadness that I'm feeling, I'm really happy. On the way there, I get to see my best friend and brother Shebu and my best friend and brother Kenneth from college. Remember both of them. They will show back up in another episode. And even though the feelings I'm feeling are bittersweet, I am finding joy in it. And it occurs to me, like, why do I have this, like, bravery, this tenacity, this will to keep going? Where does that come from? And it comes from my great-grandmother. When her husband died, when Grammy was 2, she packed up and left Mississippi during the Great Depression era and the Great Migration era, and she moved to Cleveland to give her a better life. And it occurred to me, this is in my DNA. This is in my blood. This is who I am. I can do this, and I'm going to be okay. So now you know what life was like before I moved to New York, and why I wanted to move to New York, and what it took me to get here.